Hi, I'm Kelly and I'm here to share my Hopesquad story. So back 10 years ago, maybe longer, I was struggling with lots of different problems, and I went to the doctors, and basically after they did quite a few tests, so I then had a laparoscopy, they confirmed that I had endometriosis. They lasered the endometriosis and then basically spoke to me about how this would affect my fertility, and advised that for the next 6 months after I had the operation, it would be the best chance of me getting pregnant. So it kind of forced me into that decision at the time that, you know, I knew I wanted to have kids, and so, you know, we just decided that we'd give it a go in case, you know, I could never have children. So yeah, that happened and I didn't get pregnant. It was a lot longer than 6 months, and I went back to the doctors and they ran some other tests and eventually found out that I wasn't ovulating. So they then gave me clomidopene to try. So I tried that and I was really lucky that that worked for me. So that was how my eldest Sophie came along. And then quite a few years later, when my husband and I decided to try for children, and we knew that I'd obviously had endometriosis and it can come back. So I'd been having the same kind of symptoms and pains again. So I had another laparoscopy. It's so difficult to say. And it came back that I didn't have endometriosis again, but they thought I had polycystic ovaries. I had lots of cysts on my ovaries. But at the time, we'd gone back to the fertility clinic after trying for a while, and they put me back on the clomidopene because that had worked for me before. So I'm not quite sure now whether that was what looked like I had cysts on my ovaries, because after quite a few other tests, they didn't do any more, you know, they didn't do any blood tests or anything to confirm I definitely had polycystic ovaries. And eventually, after being on the clomidopene for 9 months and feeling like a crazy person with my hormones absolutely all over the place, one minute I felt like I was going to burst out crying for no reason, and the next minute I was so angry with absolutely nothing that I just didn't know what to do with myself. And so after speaking to the fertility doctor, decided to come off of the clomidopene. And they basically advised that they thought our best options with the issues that we both had would be IVF. So we went privately to the Wessex Clinic in Southampton, and I can't recommend them enough because they were amazing. Spoke to them and decided to go ahead with that. So we had a fresh cycle. I had a lot of eggs that came to the surface when they did the stimulation phase, and when they did the egg collection, I think I had about 22 eggs, which was mental. They don't all make it though, so I think by day 5 we had 6 really good quality eggs, so we were so lucky and really pleased with that outcome. And yeah, everything went to plan, everything went really well, and we were pregnant with Nancy. So, you know, as much as I was really worried beforehand, you know, having to have the injections and everything that you have to do to have IVF, it was, you know, one of the best things we've ever done. And looking back now, you don't remember any of those bits. You literally just remember the outcome. So for anyone that's thinking about going through IVF, I just say just do it. Just whatever they can do for you, just try it, because some things work really well for some people and not for others, or something might work for you once and then not work at all. But we're just so lucky that there's so many options out there. So we then decided, when Nancy was 2 last year, we went and decided we were going to have a frozen cycle, because we had 5 of our embryos in the freezer. So we went ahead for a frozen cycle, which takes a bit longer and there's a bit more to it. You have to have more drugs and different phases in your cycle. And it was different. It was different for me that time round. I think the frozen cycle definitely took its toll on my body, and there was a few things that didn't go to plan, especially on the day where they went to put the embryo back. We had quite a lot of trouble getting to the right place where they needed to be, and they didn't know if it was because I had fibroids or scar tissue from my cesareans, because I had 2 emergency cesareans. So yeah, it didn't go to plan with the frozen cycle, and it ended up being negative. So that was quite tough, and it took me quite a while to decide whether I wanted to do it again and try again. And it was a few months back, I was speaking to one of the mums at the school, and she was telling me that she was going through IVF, but she was having like a natural IVF cycle. And so I was just asking her loads of questions, and I was like, well, how does that work? And she was saying that she does ovulate on her own. So she has a tracked cycle. They track when she's ovulating, and at the right time when she would be releasing an egg, they then make sure they put her fertilized egg back in, and it's just within your natural normal cycle. And I didn't really know if this was an option, and I hadn't, you know, we hadn't spoke to the clinic about this before because I wasn't ovulating before. So randomly around the same time, my cycles all of a sudden were really regular, which, you know, was unheard of for me. And so I spoke to the clinic and asked whether it would be an option for us, because for me, if I didn't have to do all the drugs before and after, you know, that made me feel a bit better about doing it again. So yeah, we spoke to them, and they basically said we would have to do a trial month. So you go through, you do ovulation sticks, you see if you get a surge, and then if you get a surge on those, then you go in for a scan to check whether it looks like your ovaries have released an egg. And then if that goes well, they do a blood test the week later just to confirm whether you've definitely ovulated. So we had that, and everything went really well, much to our surprise. And when I got a surge on the ovulation sticks, I couldn't believe it, because I wasn't ovulating before, and there was, you know, the endometriosis hadn't come back, but for some reason my body just didn't ovulate. And so when I got the surge, then went in for my scan, and they confirmed that it looked like I had. I was absolutely over the moon, just to feel like my body had actually done something that it should do. And then when they confirmed it a week later with a blood test, I was just so happy. Yeah, I was really shocked and really happy. And then so the next step was to call them when I got my period and speak to them about when we then wanted to go ahead with the actual proper cycle. So I was waiting, and I knew exactly when to expect it, because I'd obviously had ovulation confirmed for the first time in my life. And it didn't come. And then I started to worry, and I was thinking, oh no, you know, maybe I've had the ovulation, but actually there's something else not quite right, because I should have come on today. So I left it a couple of days, and then I was getting a bit concerned, and I thought maybe I should phone the clinic. So I phoned the clinic, and they basically said to me, have you done a pregnancy test? And I was like, no, I mean, what are the chances of that? You know, it's never happened. It was 3 years ago that we had Nancy. Before that, we were trying, before her. And we were told that we had a slim to none chance of ever being able to get pregnant naturally. So I was just like, no, I don't think so. And they're like, well, I think you should do a test and then give us a call back in a couple of days, and then we can go from there. So I did one, and to our absolute amazement, it was positive. So we actually fell pregnant naturally on our trial cycle, and I still cannot believe it. We are 13 weeks now, and it was a massive shock. I don't know how. It's just absolutely amazing. So I just wanted to say to anyone that's going through the same thing, or, you know, is talking about maybe doing IVF, if you want to talk to somebody that's had it and has been through it for a fresh cycle, frozen cycle, and, you know, the trial stages, I am happy for you to ask me anything. It's so nice when you can talk to somebody that's been through the same thing, because sometimes, you know, friends and family that haven't, or that don't really understand, it actually makes it more difficult to speak to them. So it's been so nice to speak to other people before this had happened, and before we had IVF, to see, you know, what it's like. So yes, I'm here if anybody wants to chat. I'm on Instagram and my page is 2 Mamas Mayhem. And I've also just started a family vlog on YouTube, which is The Ups and Downers. So it'd be great to see you there. Thanks everyone, bye.